Oh man, what a weird Masters it was. We went the entire back nine on Sunday without hearing any of these outrageous roars on 13 and 15. We saw pretty much the whole field hanging on for dear life because that golf course was incredibly difficult. Those green structures, if you have not been out to Augusta and where they put those flag sticks, is very difficult. So it just shows you how good these guys really are. And I use 6 as an example. 6, that par 3 where they were all hitting 8 and 9 iron to a 186-yard hole. That little quadrant that's on that green where they were hitting the balls into is like, you don't even know that you could get a ball into that spot and keep it there, especially with how hard and fast those greens are. Now, there is one person that stood out amongst the field, aside from Scotty Scheffler, that really blew my mind. And I'm just gonna be upfront and honest with you. I can't say that I wasn't a fan, I just didn't know enough about him. But this guy is the real deal. Ludvig Åberg is the real deal. And if you watch the way that he carried himself on the golf course, it was pretty impressive. He was smiling, he was enjoying the time out there. It was his first major. And to see how cool and collected he was, I'm pretty confident when I tell you that this guy's gonna win a bunch. He has got every single tool you need to have in order to be able to succeed at that level. He's got a great mindset, he's got a great golf swing, and he produces a lot of power and a lot of speed. And today what we're gonna do is we're gonna step inside the lab and I'm gonna show you guys exactly one thing that all playing professionals do so well early on in their swing shape that allows them to know when the backswing is fully complete and when to start the downswing. Because I know a lot of you at home have that very question. When is my backswing fully complete? How and when should I start my transition? What's the best way for me to be able to feel that at speed so that I know that I'm doing things right and not sacrificing a whole bunch of power and speed on the back end? Well, we're gonna get that stuff right today. So let's head inside the lab. Let's take a look at this golf swing now. All right, strap on your seatbelts. Let's take a look at this golf swing because there's a lot we can learn from here today. Now, this golf swing is magnificent because it is very much tied to his DNA and it is a very efficient movement from beginning to end. And I think a lot of times what players do is they run into these scenarios where they're trying to map their golf swing based off of a pressure trace that we've seen from some of the best players in the world. You should never build your golf swing based off of what the best players in the world should do. You should build your golf swing based off of the DNA that you bring to the table. One of the things that is most important for you to take away from this video is when the backswing is truly complete and when you should start moving your weight back onto your lead side. Now, when you look at the left-hand side of the screen, we're gonna look at this view really quickly, but most of the focus is gonna be from a face-on perspective. What you're gonna notice here is that if you follow the right hip as we start to go into the takeaway, the right hip starts to pull back. And what you're gonna notice as the lead arm starts to get parallel to the ground, the hips become very quiet, very stable. There's very little movement here as the hands and arms start to work into the vertical plane and as we start to finish off our body turn. Now, why is that? Well, because we're trying to create separation between the hip line and the shoulder line. We're trying to get our downswing to start with our lower body and get it moving back to our lead side very quickly so that we can use our hips and we can use the ground to help generate a lot of the vertical force and a lot of the rotational force as well. And so that's one of the attributes that you will find with most playing professionals is that their hips get really quiet when the lead arm gets to about parallel to the ground up. And we're gonna be working on this sort of movement later on in the week. Now, the other angle that I wanna focus on here today is the more important angle, and that's the face-on view, because we know that horizontal, rotational, and vertical forces are very much a blending act when it comes to swinging the golf club. What you wanna remember is that your backswing is not complete until your body gets turned fully. Now, I know that we have really, really big, important machines now these days that allow us to look inside the body and allow us to see how the best players in the world are moving. But I don't want you to start trying to shift your weight over to your lead side until you can create a good load process in your golf swing. Now, I've drawn a line up from the center of his ankle straight up, and I want you to notice this gap between his trail thigh and this line. This is what we call the load line here at My Golf DNA. And what you're gonna notice is that this gap gets filled in pretty early, right? So you can see that he's got a little bit of a horizontal movement of his pelvis, and he's starting to increase pressure underneath his trail ankle. Now, as he gets that pressure underneath that side, you're gonna notice that he's turning his body, and you're gonna notice if we had a force plate underneath him, at this particular section of the golf swing, this is where he's going to be at peak pressure. So let's just say he's at 80% of his total body mass parked underneath that trail ankle. Now, here's something I want you to remember. In the golf swing, we're gonna be creating centered rotation, and the hands and arms are gonna be working around the body into the vertical plane. And we've got momentum and inertia working in the direction of the target. And so as we start to get up into the top of the golf swing, when we finish off the body turn, what you're gonna notice is that if we had that same pressure plate underneath him, is we would see that pressure start to move off of the trail foot and move back more to the lead side. We are not really starting a big dramatic shift to the lead side. We're still working to finish off our body turn. Now, I've seen a lot of instruction out there that tells you that, hey, you should start shifting your weight over to your lead side at this point. That is not a good idea. You need to be able to create force in the golf swing, and a great way to create force is making sure that you can coil your body up so that you can transfer all of that energy up from the ground, out through the hands and the arms when it's all said and done, down through the bottom of the swing arc. And so as we get up into the vertical plane here, now this is where we're going to start making that good aggressive move onto the lead side. This is where we start getting all of that big pressure underneath that lead ankle, and this is where we start driving up out of the ground. And one of the things that I found fascinating about this golf swing, aside from the fact that you can tell that this is very much tied to his DNA, is that the strength of his grip, which is super, super strong, you can see that he actually uses a great deal of wrist and forearm rotation post-impact. You can see his wrist and his forearms, they're not moving a whole lot through the point of contact because he doesn't need to because of the strength of the grip. But you can see post-impact, there is a great deal of rotation that's existing here. So this is a movement that is 100% efficient. He's letting the club release. He's really making sure that he uses the ground, but he's also making sure that he's being patient in his load process. Now, going back to the understanding of your golf swing is tied to your DNA, I want you to remember that not every one of us at home is young and can rotate our body without having to move so much off the golf ball. How much you move off the ball is very dependent on who you are and how much mobility you have. You want to remember that horizontal movement is okay. It's not going to hurt you. Yes, there are thresholds that we want to certainly meet, but I know a lot of you are capable of being able to make a good rotation of your hips and a good body rotation if you do it in the correct order and you do it in the most safe and responsible way possible. So later on in the week, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be working to try to get you to feel what it's like to start the load processes and finish the load processes and do it in a very aggressive way, and also be able to start the transitional move back onto your lead side so that you can tie the last two videos back together with what we just put out. And it's going to be a fun week. I think that once you start feeling and seeing what it's like to be able to move through these positions a lot quicker and not have to think about the technicalities of the golf swing, you're going to feel a whole lot better about your golf swing. It's going to feel like it's come alive. So hopefully you guys enjoyed today's analysis. Hopefully you guys go out there and don't follow the pressure trace of what you would see of some of the best players in the world. Build a golf swing that's for you. You want good load processes, you want a good body turn, and you want something that you can create and generate power from the top of the golf swing down, and you'll be a lot happier golfer when it's all said and done. Have a wonderful day.